All right. So I'm recording. So today, we're gonna discuss what do you do when you get a new Scrum Master role. So how to prepare for your new Scrum Master role, right? So basically, the first one is put together is to remember the values and principles from the Agile Manifesto. So as a new Scrum Master, it is essential to remember your training, right? So you remember the values and the principles that are enshrined in the Agile Manifesto. These are the things that drive Agile product development. So basically, this is the first thing I was able to think about. Does anyone want to add any details to this point? We have Vijay here. We have Kirk here. I know most people here, so please feel free to jump in as we go through this.
Sorry, what was your question again?
My question is, this is the first point that I'm saying. Should you get a new Scrum Master role, you should have in mind, right? Basically, you should remember the values and principles from the Agile Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I'm saying as a new Scrum Master, it is essential to remember your training. Remember the values and the principles enshrined in the Agile Manifesto. These are the things that drive Agile product development. So should you, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Felix, I think you can, if you want to add or just brush up the values, the 4 values, what we have for the Agile Manifesto values, like individuals and the interaction over process and tools.
Yeah, I think it was individuals, personal tool, working software over comprehensive documentation. Yeah, if you can pull up that slide, it'll be good to brush up on.
Okay, so I didn't add that here. I wanted us to give the values and principles when we are discussing. Ahmed has his hand up. Hey, Ahmed, go ahead.
Sir, I'm just trying to get the question straight. You want us to restate the Agile manifestos as regard to how we're going to start, help start with a new role as Scrum Master. Is that correct?
Exactly. Let me reset the room again. Imagine yourself in a new role, right? You just got hired as a Scrum Master, right?
Mm-hmm.
This discussion is for us to pinpoint things that we need to have in the back of our mind when we get a new role. And this is the first one I'm saying that is something we need to have in the back of our mind. What do we think about it? Working Scrum Masters, those that are still applying for jobs, what do you think? Do you agree that we need to remember the values and principles from the Agile Manifesto?
Absolutely.
I'll just allow others. Go ahead. I'll allow others to go first.
Okay, I was going to say, as like a Scrum Master, right? So we're masters of the Scrum framework, which is under the Agile umbrella, right? So the first thing when explaining why are we doing Scrum, what is the whole purpose, is to talk about being Agile, right? And Agile being a mindset basically consists of those values and principles. And if we don't understand that, and if the team we're working with doesn't understand that, it can be very complicated to do Agile right.
Thank you for that. Any more? Do we have anyone here who wants to just outline these Agile Manifesto principles, values and principles of Agile Manifesto that I'm talking about? Just the 4 values to help folks that are here. I mean, I'm sure we might have new folks here, folks that just started the Scrum journey who have no idea.
Felix, you want us to list them or you want to interpret each of them?
We should just list them.
I think somebody posted it in the chat.
Okay, because I was going to just list those.
I think what the question is, the intended question is, if I'm correct, to having in mind these manifestos, how do we incorporate it with a new team when we are starting with a new team as a Scrum Master? Where's the kickoff point? And at what point do you check for what and how? When do you start with the teams and all of that, if I'm correct, right?
Correct. You got it on point.
So like I said, I'll let others, take the lead. I'll probably catch up.
Okay. No one is saying anything. We have 2 hands up, unfortunately. Okay, Chanel, go ahead.
Okay, I would like to answer that question. However, it's not going to be in the lines of the Agile Manifesto. Some things that I think is important when starting a new team is to first just make observations. So you want to make observation into the dynamics of the team. You want to see if they're collaborating together effectively, if they're sharing their ideas, if they're forthcoming. Watch their faces. Well, I mean, if it's not a virtual environment, watch their faces when other people speak, because you'll learn a lot from their facial expressions. And also what you can also do is I would want to know the maturity of the team and how long they've been working together. And I also want to look at the dynamics as if they're having fun together, if they're joking together. Just watch their interactions very closely, because that'll tell a lot about the relationship amongst the team, and it'll kind of give you a gauge to, when it comes to attitudes and stuff like that, how much work you have to do. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, that was a very great input there from the last speaker. The follow, and I'm trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. So, what happened if you join a team that are in the culture of not turning up their videos, their camera, and how do you get to assess their visual, meaning their content
expressions, like you said.
Their expressions, like you stated, and how do you get to find out if they're really collaborating without having visual access to their expressions and how they're really getting to do their work from time to time? Thank you.
Okay, one thing that I would add as a new Scrum Master is go over your working agreement, because I understand that a lot of people are shy and they don't want their cameras on. I would put in my working agreement, can we please have face-to-face interactions at least sometimes? It doesn't have to be mandatory all the time, but I feel that it's important sometimes to make face-to-face interactions, because that is in the Scrum Guide as well. So I would just, again, put in a working agreement if we can have face-to-face interactions, but sometimes you can't tell through facial expressions, but sometimes in their voice or what's said and not said. But that can be difficult in a virtual environment, but everyone is still not virtual now. A lot of people are going back into the office, and some of them are hybrid as well. So what I'm saying primarily applies to those that are working either hybrid or in the office, because it is difficult to gauge that online. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope that answers your question, Ahmed.
Yeah, excellent, because that's one of the major key interview questions. We all know that in the remote work settings, we all having this barbecue and non-barbecue challenge. Day-to-day individual interactions, practice. Also, I would just like to add one thing And I learned this from one of us here. It's been very useful for me. Priska, shout out to Priska if she's here. One-on-one is very, very key. It's very, very important when you get into meet a new team, especially when you're dealing with distributed team. It might take a longer span of time for you to have a one-on-one with them.
I don't know who is talking, but your audio is a little bit off.
That's Ahmed, yes.
That's Ahmed.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Yeah, so the one-on-one is very, very key, very important for us to all try to incorporate into our initial, approach to get to introducing herself and introducing yourself and getting to know the team ahead of the time before you start working with them in group. So that's just the only thing I wanted to add to that.
Thank you, Ahmed. Saint, you have your hands up.
Yes, thank you for me. In contribution and in addition to what Chanez said, when you join a new Scrum team, obviously that team has been there and then they have documentations. You look into their metrics, you look into their retrospective documents, and then you can then gauge the level of understanding of the Scrum, of the understanding of Agile, and then you can also ascertain the level of team spirit they have and the maturity at which they are working as a team, then the level of collaboration and those things. Those things you can tell from their past documentation. And in most cases, they will give you, the organization give you time to shadow. Maybe the person that was previously there, they don't just throw you into a team and ask you to kick off. So I would say that you take one sprint with the team, and you do your findings, you do your should I say a research on them, and observation, and look at how things are going. And you, an Agile custodian, you have these principles of Agile guiding you, and then you tailor it towards the framework they are operating on, and that is how you are able to build a kickstart of it with yourself and the new team. And then when you get there, with your level of understanding, you can break down the manifesto to them, or you can explain, or in as much as the team dynamics is, you can know where to start from and know how to grab them, moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Chi?
Yeah, from the explanations given, it's like, a team already exists and then you're coming in. What if you're the first Scrum Master in that organization and you're asked to form a team? Yeah, I would like us to also share, some experiences.
Okay. Did Saint, you have your hands back up again?
Yes. I just have an interview based on the question she just asked. I have a recent interview, and then they want me to come as a team Agile coach in a new. They want to build a new team up, and then they want me to come in as an Agile coach. I think that question was asked. How I answered it. They are trying to organize a new team, and they don't even know the framework they want to use yet, but they are contemplating whether with Scrum or Kanban, and then that's what they are trying to use. And when they asked me that question, I told them that I will have to work with the team. I have to ascertain, one, the level of teamship of the developer that I'm having, and two, we have to look at what the organization wants us to meet, the organization goal. That we have to look at that and what they want us to, what they want the team, why are they bringing the team together, and what they want us to do. And then we have to look at the team level, grading them on a team should I say, a team spirit now. I have to look at the teamship level at which they are operating. If they are still operating as individual, if they are just bringing fresh people, I have to start a team from a formation stage. And so these are some of those factors I have to look into. And then moving forward, we have to compare both Scrum and Agile principle towards what they want us to do as the organization. And then after 2 weeks, which is like, I will call it one sprint with the team, and looking at what they want us to do and how they want to achieve what they want us to do. So I can bring my findings to them and let them know what is the best framework for this particular project that we're going to be doing, and then look at the level of the team I have, and I have to work with them, to get maturity, or they are matured, but they also have to work towards this team goal. And so they are more than just one factors. There are these factors that we have to look into when you're being given a new team. So that was how I answered the question.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everyone who contributed. We'll move on to the next. All right.
I have a question before you move. Sorry, move on to the next. I just wanted to know, Agile principles and Scrum principles, are they the same, or is the Agile Manifesto like totally different from the Scrum Master? Or it's like, I'm new to this, so it might be a stupid question, but please bear with me.
It's not a stupid question, my dear.
Thank you.
The principles and the Agile manifestos are two different things, but they are all connected.
Okay.
Lois, right?
Yes, that's me.
You want to add a little bit of context to the answer? So
It's everything. Oh.
I want to add the what?
A little bit of context to answer to help you out.
Well, I guess someone had posted what the Agile manifestos are, which is the individuals and interactions over processes and tools, and then working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. What I remember about this is that I know that some of the Scrum, I'll call them the Scrum brains, that met together and came up with this manifesto on trying to portray what the value of each manifesto is, not that they negate what the other manifesto is. For example, when we go with the first one, which is the individuals and interactions over processes and tools, indirectly they were saying that in terms of Agile and Scrum, they should value, or they should value more of the individuals and interactions, because Agile is about collaboration. It's about interacting with each other, with each team, working as a team. So they should value more the individuals and interactions that are going to work on those softwares rather than over the processes and tools. That's the first one. And then the working software over comprehensive documentation. Comprehensive documentation is more of the light of the waterfall methodology. So they value more of a working software, which is a shippable, valuable increment at the end of each iteration or cadence. They should value more of something that is valuable, that is needed by the customers or is needed by the end user stakeholders, rather than the comprehensive documentation, which is more like just rules and regulations, let me call it that way. And then the customer collaboration over contract negotiation is equally the fact that they should collaborate more, and get feedbacks from customers, because you see that when you do the sprint by sprint, iteration by iteration, you're doing more of the inspection and adaptation, which is a cycle. So you're constantly inspecting, you're constantly adapting. So that constant customer collaboration, it's more valued over a contract negotiation, where maybe like in the waterfall method, where you have a contract signed and it's more like, okay, this is it, this is what we have. And then you're not in touch with the customer or with the stakeholders, and you just produce until, let's say, the next 6 months before you hear from them. So they said it's more of valuing that customer collaboration, interacting with them so that they have immediate feedback to see if there are any changes to be done. And then responding to change over the following the plan is more of like respond, like when you say in Agile, we respond to change over following a plan. Following a plan, like when you go into the waterfall, anybody who is a project manager will understand this, where you gather the requirements, you go into the development and all of the steps that you follow right up to the last stage where you have to deliver. Sometimes it might take a year. So responding to change means like that anything that comes up, any changes that come, any new developments that come, Agile wants to be able to welcome those changes in between, I would say, production, rather than wait till the end because it was a plan they have to follow. So that's already the manifesto. Then the principles now come in. Well, I would say that the principles come in kind of like to back up or to strengthen those Agile manifestos. Because if you look at the principles, I know that it starts with a highest priority, which is more of valuing the highest priority, like in the backlog refinement. When you're doing the backlog, you want to first tackle what is of top priority in your backlog. And then you go next to the, I don't know all the 12 principles, to be honest, but I know that I'll see if I can, I don't know. Felix, do you want me to break all the 12 right now? Because I know that the 12 principles, the 12 principles are kind of like, yes, sorry.
Can I help there real quick, if I may?
Yeah, I could list the 12 principles. We want us to break it down one by one.
Yeah,
Ahmed,
go ahead.
do you want us to break it one by one, Ahmed, or you want to just take it over? Because I can just list them.
I want to go off based on the question she asked. And it sounds like she's confused with how to place the core values, which are the manifestos and the principles. So, and we might not necessarily need to break everything down one by one. So
I look at it more like an expansion to the manifesto, the 12 principles.
So I'll see like the core values are what the governing rules. What when you tell it, and the principles speaks to how, it goes immediately to the prescriptive details on how you could help drive home four core values, and meaning that you teach an individual interaction person. How do you do that?
Ahmed, I don't know. You keep your line.
I don't know if you said anything, but you were breaking up.
Yes,
audio is bad.
Yeah. I would say if you look at the 12 principles, you will see that all the 12 principles, they relate to those 4 manifestos. So in the 12 principles, you have basically each of the principles. There's like I'll say, for example, if I remember correctly, the 7th principle talks about working software that is being the most important measure of progress. And that relates already to the manifesto that says working software over, what's it again? Working software over comprehensive documentation. That's it. So if you look at the 12 principles, that's how I look at it. Maybe, I bet you corrected. I look at the manifestos, just like what Ahmed said, like the core values. Then the 12 principles come to back up those core values. That these are the principles. That is the reason why we created these core values, is because of these principles that we want to implement. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I come in?
Who is speaking? Ramso?
Yes. Okay. I think the lady speaker, I don't know her name. I'm sorry. I think
the lady speaker is Lois.
Lois, okay, yes, Lois. Yeah, I think you've nailed it, in my opinion. So it's like we going to New York, so which is the working software that we need. The main goal is to arrive at New York, which is getting that software. So anything in between is just to aid to get to that, avoiding traffic, using a GPS to avoid traffic, and doing all other things in between. As long as you get there, that is the most important thing. And that is how I see it with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Ramso.
You're welcome.
So, I was saying,
her question was,
Ahmed, can you please just, if you have a question, you could just raise your hand, then I'll call you, because we have folks here who had already raised their hands. Okay, Chi, go ahead.
yes, her question was actually, she's confused on the difference between Scrum values and Agile values and principles. So she's talking about Scrum values, which is courage, commitment, focus, respect, and openness. And she's wondering if both are the same. So that's what I took from her question. So it's good we've explained what the Agile values and principles are. So I think we need to also explain what the Scrum values are and how she can actually use both of them as a new Scrum Master. Yes, I hope I'm speaking her mind anyway.
That was perfect.
Oh, yeah, then it means I misunderstood. I didn't know, because Felix just ran with it. So that's what I was answering. But yeah, then it's two different things then.
So Lois, I think you're kind of like on track. You, as Chi just said, you explained what the values and principles from the for the Agile Manifesto is. And the next part is for us to talk about the Scrum values, which are commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect. So those two are two different things, and the Scrum values are actually values that they say is the bedrock of Scrum. Basically, you need to have all these in your mind as you're doing your work, as you're Scrumming. Ahmed?
Yes, I'm sorry. I was actually speaking and silent. Can you guys hear me? My network is a little bit bad. Please do feel free to call me. Let me know if I'm off the line again. So what I was saying is that I didn't even know she was talking about values and principles. I thought it was manifestos and principles. So you take a look at what are the guiding core values as the rules to adhere to, the bounds, the confines of the rules that, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So the values, the rules guiding the motive of you helping the team work a little bit more effective. And you look at, when you look at the values, you're looking at those as the behaviors, the characters, the traits which your teams need to exude in order to drive home these core values and principles. So these are those that are a little bit more prescriptive. They're a little bit more, it dives deep a little bit into the more details of things you need to exude as individual team member in an Agile team in order for you to effectively deliver the expected value, which is the value of commitment, courage, focus, openness, and what's the last one again? Somebody help me with that. So those are the things that you need to exude as a character, as a team member, as a stakeholder, in order for you to achieve those core values. That's how I would like to put it. Like what to do and how to do it. You know, that's the short form of putting it, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Ahmed. We'll take one more person and we'll move on to the next item. Lois, your hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to just add to what Ahmed said, and that, yeah, those are the characteristics those are the characteristics or qualities that each Scrum member, like what Ahmed said, is more of like characteristics and qualities that is kind of like expected from each team member in a Scrum team or in an Agile team. Like when we take the focus, for example, we're talking more of having team members focus on, let's say, the team's efforts in the sprint backlog task, or in focusing on the sprint goals, or focusing in evaluating and ensuring that the team attains their goal and equally deliver a functioning shippable increment at the end of each sprint. So more like prioritizing the product backlog and the sprint goals. That is being focused. That's one of the things. That's how I look at it. And then if you go to courage, for example, it will be more of like showing courage to support each other, showing courage to be able to speak up, showing courage to be able to express yourself, like more of like a safe environment that each person, each individual, each team member should be able to have that courage to be able to, if let's say if you have something to say, if you have any feedback, any comments, any concerns, you have the courage to speak up, and also take risk if possible in the work that you're doing. If it entails that you have to take extra steps, you want to be able to have that courage in a team, because bear in mind, we're working together as a team. So then the one of commitment, the way I look at it is more of like, let's say, for example, the Scrum Master needs to show the commitment by ensuring that he enforces these rules. He's committed to the team, and every team member is committed. Let's say they take a commitment. Let's say, for example, they commit to a number of stories. They all commit. They say, okay, this is our sprint goal. We all commit to ensure that we get all these stories that will be pulled into the sprint backlog to be delivered at the end of the sprint. That is a commitment as a team. The product owner might equally take a commitment, for example, by making the best decisions that he or she can make to optimize value. And the development team, they can equally take commitments to be able to deliver those increments that they have pulled into their sprint to be able to deliver. Then respect is, like we all know, respecting each other, respecting team members, and respecting people's point of views, not undermining people's opinions, showing respect equally to stakeholders as per their reviews and their feedbacks, and basically promoting respect among each other, accountability. That's basically what it is. And then openness, I'll look at it more like being open. Like, for example, if in terms of, like, say, backlog refinement sessions, ensuring that there's openness between stakeholders, product owners, and equally the development, in understanding exactly what the stakeholders want. They are open to express themselves. The developers are open to equally work towards that goal. The team is transparent. That's what I'll say. Like, for example, the pillars, being transparent enough to see that, okay, this is what the backlog, the product backlog has for us. How are we working towards our priorities? Reviewing and having that shared collaboration where they can all come together, and if there are any changes to be made, there's that openness and that freedom of speech. That's how I look at it. So that's how I interpret all the 5. Just in short, I don't want to speak for so long, basically.
Thank you for that, Lois. I think we've actually really exhausted this question about Agile Manifesto and the Scrum Values. So we can move on to the next one, which is, we are still talking about the same thing. What do you do in your first few days as a Scrum Master? This was how I was able to put together, reach out to product owners. The relationship you have with your product owner is one that you should cherish and invest in. Don't take this for granted. Spend time with your product owner to understand how they work and who they are. This will help you be better equipped to coach them and support them in working with the team and managing the backlog. Maybe Kirk could be able to add 1 or 2 things to this, as he is a product owner, and then maybe he could give us the benefits that he gets from, Scrum Masters reaching out to him and working closely with him?
I would say that a product owner and the Scrum Master should definitely have a good relationship. For me, I always communicate with my Scrum Master and vice versa. I mean, I hear a lot of times from different teams that the product owner and seems to be a person who is like very controlling, but as a good product owner, you don't want to be too pushy. You want to listen to your Scrum Master and respect your Scrum Master's feedback and coaching. And just as long as the two of you get along and you're listening to each other, then you won't have a problem with the rest of your team. So that's just my small feedback.
Thank you, Kek. Ahmed?
And again, I want to for putting you on the spot that I would like to direct. I'm sure you being a product.
You're breaking up again, Ahmed.
You're breaking up, Ahmed. Your network is very bad.
No, what's going on? So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say you've been a product owner for a while now. So I would like to share from your thoughts and your view, your opinion. What has been your greatest challenge with a Scrum Master? You must have worked with different Scrum Masters all through your career. What has been the greatest, challenge? Can you, share a little bit what the challenges were and how you were able to succumb those challenges? Thanks.
Well, I haven't really had any challenge. I've been a product owner for about 2 years now, and within those 2 years, I've had 3 Scrum Masters, and so far all 3 of them have really been great because what happened is for the first so this is what happens. The first Scrum Master I think I had him for maybe about 3 or 4 months, but during the transition period, the new Scrum Master was shadowing my my first Scrum Master. So the transition was it was flawless. And based on my work ethic with my first Scrum Master, he pretty much kind of kept the second one, kept them in a line, like pretty much they communicated as well. So anytime I had a transition from one Scrum Master to the other one, it almost as if it it was never, my job was never interrupted. And the same thing with my current Scrum Master. So I've never really had the only challenge that I have is just that my team, they're offshore, so I'm not able to attend daily stand-ups. But as I said before, I'm always in communication with my Scrum Master, so I haven't had any type of challenges with my relationship with me and my Scrum Master. So I've never really had challenge. The only challenge I've had was maybe it has nothing to do with my Scrum Master. It was just more of working with the end users or the stakeholders. But I've never really had much of a challenge with the 3 Scrum Masters I've had.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I guess this is pretty straightforward, so we can move on to the next one. Okay. This says stay curious, value feedback. So as you started your new journey as a Scrum Master, it's always good to ask questions before deciding on appropriate next steps. It's very tempting to do something as soon as the team asks you, but don't stop first and ask questions like, what is the goal? Or can you tell me more? By being curious, you get much better information and a more in-depth understanding to help you decide the right way to move forward. And a Scrum Master has to value feedback, right? So really you get it right the first time. So feedback come in the form of demos, retrospectives, and other Agile events. So as a Scrum Master, you have to see both positive and negative feedback as full of improving the development team. In my current environment, I always tell my team that I always like it. I enjoy when they give me feedback, because that way I know if I'm doing the right thing, or I'm doing the wrong thing, or I need to get better. I need to change my ways or my way of working with them. So it's always good to stay curious, always ask questions. There is no wrong question, because the more you ask questions, the more you get the answers you're looking for. All right. Does anyone want to add any more to this?
Yeah, I just have 2 things to share. The acumen as a Scrum Master to be able to ask valuable questions at the right time to achieve the set goal is very key. And also, it's very easy to gather information in some instances. So, but what do we do with this information? What do we do with this feedback? How do we navigate it? How do we prioritize it? It's very key as well. So speaking to this, let's have these 2 fundamental underlying principles that I've had. So that way we could speak to it sufficiently and we could share values. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Okay, so I'll move on to the next item if there's no other feedback or comments. All right, not every problem is your problem to solve. Oops. Okay, need to go back. So yeah, not every problem is your problem to solve. Just ignore the writing here. What do we understand by that? Not every problem is your problem to solve. So, when you start a new Scrum Master engagement, right? Sometimes you be in meetings, you feel like every issues they are talking about is directed at you. It's not the case in all points. So that's why we need to that's why we need to be curious and then ask questions before deciding on the next steps. Does anyone want to add anything to that? All right. So
I think Chanel's hand was up.
Whose hand? Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Chanel, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So what I think is meant by everything is not your problem to be solved means that when you're working with a team that you want to self-organize, sometimes they need to self-reflect and figure out solutions to their own problems. So you want to encourage interactions and have them talk amongst themselves so they can come to a solution. So that's what I think you mean by it.
Right.
Or that's my interpretation of it. And that's how I would go about it. I would not try to solve all the problems for the team. I would facilitate the conversation amongst them and have them work out the issues on their own. I'm here to help. I'm here to assist. However, I don't want to solve all the problems, because you solving all the problems hinders their progression towards self-organization. So you want them to reach their highest potentials on their own. You can give them you can guide them to it, but don't do it for them, because you're hindering their progression by doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanel. Tease.
Can we ask questions? Because mine is more like a question. I'll be asking a lot of questions because this is pretty new. All right. So you're not solving their problems. First off, doesn't that make you seem like you don't know what you're doing, or like you're not really there to assist as you should? And in this and in the whole retrospect, like, do we have like a hierarchy level? Like, I can't solve your problem, but can I take it to like a higher level of authority that can help? So those are the 2 questions I want to ask pertaining to that. Not every problem is your problem to solve situation.
Felix, let me try that.
Okay, go ahead, Lois.
Yeah, when based on what Shannon said, she was very correct, because as a Scrum Master, you're there to facilitate and to coach the team. And when she says that you need to guide them on how to resolve some of the impediments, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing your job. On the contrary, you are doing your job. That's why you have to say or ask those powerful questions. And by asking some of those powerful questions, you might find out that they themselves might be able to go down to the root cause and be able to resolve a problem that probably, if you didn't ask all those questions, they would have never figured it out. So part of your job is asking those powerful questions. And if it gets to a point that you see that they really can't get the answers, then that's when you can now escalate it, like what you're saying, escalate it to a higher authority. In my case, for example, in the safe environment, you escalate it during the SOS to the release train engineer, and then she takes it from there. So you first of all start by seeing how the team can resolve that problem or resolve that impediment by asking those questions, the why questions sometimes, but based on what the problem is. Let's say, for example, they are not able to figure out something. You say, who do I need to speak? Who do we need to speak to? Who was working on this card? Are there any additional assignees to this? All the questions you think that surrounds that particular problem, you want to ask them, right up to the last or the minimum. Trust me, no question is useless at this point. And you'll be surprised that only the team, by answering those questions that you're asking, they might end up resolving that impediment. And that's your job done. Your job is done. You've resolved the impediment just by asking those questions. Now, if by asking those questions, the answers are not coming out or they are not able to figure it out, and you cannot figure it out because you are a Scrum Master, you probably don't even have the technical know-how, then that's when you want to now reach out to the concerned people. Sometimes you might not even need to reach out to the release train engineer. Sometimes it might be something that needs the BA to step in, or the system architect to step in, or even the Jira admin to step in. That is another way of resolving the problem. That is if they cannot resolve it. So that's when they say not every problem is your problem to solve. It's basically saying that sometimes some of those problems can be solved by the team, by just you, the Scrum Master, asking the questions that are necessary to have that problem resolved.
Thank you, Lois. So before I call Ahmed, I'm going to read. Go ahead, Ahmed. Just go ahead and read what you put in the chat.
Well, you might not directly be the solution giver, just like the comment goes, but one thing you know, by the virtue of you asking relevant question, powerful question at the right time, and by the virtue of you asking the right person, and would lead to what they call self-discovery of what the problem is. And if you're leading a team in a transparent environment where everybody understands their role, people could talk without being scared or being reprimanded, and people could be creative and innovative enough, they would be, they'll feel free to be vulnerable, share their views, their opinion, taking up ownership and accountability wouldn't be a problem. And as such, when you're engaging them, asking them questions as to concerning a particular problem, you could guide them towards discovery of what the problem is, possibly what the possible solution would be. You most likely going to be able to guide them through that. And as such, just like the previous speaker said, your work is done, because and it's effective to take this approach because you are not telling them what to do. You are guiding them towards understanding what their problem is effectively, and they are seeing those problems in real time, and you are engaging them to identify what possible solutions will be, and they are giving you options of how they could possibly tackle those problems. And you're already having one or two hypotheses to work with, and you're done at that point. You've done your work. So the major thing is left for you is just to see they go through with the agreed plan and do your follow-up to see how effective the solution is. And if not, what you expect and adapt. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Tease, I hope these two responses actually clarify things for you.
Oh yeah, they were real perfect. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. All right, so next, experiment, innovate, and improve. So becoming a better person makes you a better Scrum Master, right? So you spend time on personal improvement while working on continuous improvement with your teams. There is nothing more important than this. Try things out and be an advocate for experimenting. If the team sees you fail at something, share it out loud and be proud so they know it's okay. It's okay to fail because we fail. Is it we fail fast? So fail forward. I forgot.
Yes, fail fast.
Fail fast.
Fail
Yes.
fast, face forward.
Yes. And exactly. And to push the envelope to try new things, lean into being uncomfortable. One interesting thing about Agile is when you fail, I mean, you're expected to fail in some things that you're trying out. And then you learn from, the things that you feel. So you learn from your experiences. So as you begin your journey as a new Scrum Master, it's good to experiment, innovate, and improve. And also, be out there. So does anyone want to add any pointers to this topic?
Yeah, Felix, I was going to say that not just being a Scrum Master, even those of us who have been working as Scrum Masters, we still fail at some certain things in our work environment. So let me give an example. 2 days ago, I had the reporting manager was requesting me to pull up certain report epics, done epics in our PI. And believe it or not, I'm still practicing all my queries. I can tell you that for every query I succeed to write and it goes through or it's been, and Jira is able to filter that, I just save it right away because I don't know if I'll be able to make up that particular query. And the more queries I'm creating, the more I'm learning. So it took me 3 different queries to be able to get the right one and to be able to pull up the report. And it wasn't easy because I kept trying and failing. But then when I succeeded, even the reporting manager was amazed because, believe it or not, he didn't know. And he admitted to me that, Lois, I tried and I couldn't get it. I'm so proud of you that you did it. But he didn't know how many times I tried. And then I laughed at it and said that it took me 3 tries. And then we both laughed at it. So it's more like nobody's perfect. But the more you're experimenting, the more you're trying to improve yourself, the more you're learning. And if you ask me to pull up that particular query right now, I'm going to do it ABC. Why? Because I had to do it 3 or 4 times and I came out with the right query and I was able to save it in my favorite queries in Jira. So it was just an example that I'm trying to give, that sometimes you cannot know it all and you don't need to brag. And sometimes you can say, well, I've tried this and it's not working. Do you have any other queries that you can share? Because those that I'm trying to fill, those that I'm running are not filtering the reports that I want. And you'll be surprised that the other Scrum Masters or the other team members that they are not also very versed or they know better than you. And it's a learning process. Nobody's a computer. We're learning from each other every day. So I'm not scared to say when I don't know, but you have to be tactical in how you do it. My approach is try and let them see that you tried. And then you say, you have tried this so far, it's not working. Do you have any other way of going around it? That way they know you tried. So that if someone is giving you a helping hand, at least they know that you try to figure it out and now you're reaching out for help. That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Lois. And Ahmed in the chat said, the goal is to be outcome driven, not to be output oriented. More of creating impact than counting impact. All right. Thank you for that, Ahmed. It's the outcome and not the output. Okay, that being said, can we move on to the next item? Awesome. Ask for help. Being a Scrum Master is often a thankless job. There will be times where you feel alone, but remember, you are not. If you're somewhere where you don't have a good support group of other Agilists, find yourself support in other places by attending either Scrum Alliance user group, joining Slack groups, or Agile Minds. It's a community of practice, or finding a mentor through networking. As scary as that sounds, to talk to people outside of your network, having that support system will be well worth it. And I will say it, Agile Minds, I'm part of other groups too, but Agile Minds has always been a great help to me. Ever since I got my first job as a Scrum Master, even before I got a job, I was part of Agile Minds because we all come here to, interview question and answers, right? But after I even kind of know that in this field, it is continuous learning. And then there is no, you need to be always asked for help. You learn from other folks. There are folks here who have been who has been Scrum Masters for years. There's some who just started, but you never know what you learn from each other. So don't be shy to ask for help, and always don't be shy to put yourself out there. Does anyone want to add any more pointers to this? Oh, this is pretty straightforward, right? Just ask for help. You could go on LinkedIn, reach out to folks, get more pointers. All right. And so don't forget the definition of done. Basically, one of the more common issues that Scrum teams have is a non-existent or weak definition of done. The definition of done is important because it is the shared definition of doneness for the entire Scrum team and its stakeholders. The definition of done drives quality and helps reduce or remove technical debt over time. Prioritize the establishment of a definition of done that everyone understands and agrees with. So I remember when I joined my team, right? The first thing I did, I remember somebody was talking and said, you need to check working agreement and all those stuff. So when I joined an observation, I didn't get the luxury to shadow anybody. I am the only Scrum Master in my company. When I joined, I had to jump right into it. So what I did is I just, looked through their documentation and all the stuff. And then so in every events that I find myself in with the team and I'm facilitating, let's say even either refinement, either planning, I always highlight on the team with the team that a definition of done, we need to review it. You need to ensure that it's of quality. So I advise everyone to, when you start your engagement, always highlight when you get into a new team, you check their working agreement to check if they have a definition of done, definition of ready. In all those artifacts, they're very important. Anyone want to add any pointers? Or this is straightforward. All right, so
Felix, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that for the new Scrum Masters, if they understand the difference between the definition of done and the definition of ready, because you mentioned that, so I just want to make sure that the new Scrum Masters know the difference. You see, that's why you should ask questions. If I didn't ask, you can't just let Felix be talking and moving on. You want to ask your questions.
My bad. Go ahead. We don't understand.
Okay.
So what's the difference between definition of done and definition of ready, Felix?
Yes, please, Felix. Go ahead and define it.
Okay, so the definition of ready, is just like a checklist. You could say a checklist or steps that you need to ensure that a team goes through before a story is ready to be picked up into the sprint, So let's say during refinement sessions, right? You guys are refining your backlog, right? You ensure that, your stories meet the invest criteria. When I say invest, I mean the stories is independent, it's negotiable, it's verifiable, it's small, it's testable and all this stuff, and you ensure that your story is understood, it has an acceptance criteria, is estimated, it is small. For new Scrum Masters, this might sound new to you, but that is what the definition of ready is, right? Basically, a checklist that you need to go through to ensure that your backlog is ready to be picked up and worked on. Okay, and then the definition of done, as said in here, is it drives quality and helps reduce technical debt over time, right? Basically, this is your increment. You know, the definition of done actually looks at the increment. Does it meet the quality? Is it tested? Has it been code reviewed? You know, is it there's so many steps. Has it been tested? Has it made code reviewed? Has it been what's again? So those are example of definition of done. Okay, I see somebody put something up here.
Yeah, Grace posted something, and that's exactly the detailed explanation of what the definition of ready is.
Yes.
The reason why I was emphasizing on this is because when I joined my organization, believe it or not, nobody knew about definition of ready. When I was doing the workshop with the other Scrum Masters doing our SOS, they all were asking, what is DOR? I just said DOR with the presumption that everyone understood me. And I was shocked when I realized that none of them knew what the definition of ready was. So that's when it dawned on me that, you know, I was proud of being Agile Minds, part of Agile Minds, to be honest, because I learned about definition of ready while attending Agile Minds meetings. So it's really little things like that that I'm encouraging the other new Scrum Masters or working Scrum Masters that, you know, don't let any sentence just go by without you asking the questions. You're here to learn, and you'll be surprised that a little detail might just improve your value in an organization. And because of that, you know, it looked, I mean, I felt proud that because I realized I taught something new to them, you know. So you want to ask those questions, and you want to be able to be curious as much as you can. You read. So that's why I wanted Felix to go ahead and describe it, because he could be talking, and then we all assume that we've all understood, and then yet some people really didn't even understand what the DOR means. So thank you.
Correct. That's correct, Lois. And Lola, I see your hands up. I'll get to you in a minute. Clem is asking, please, can you also talk on acceptance criteria? Acceptance criteria is basically the steps that there's also a checklist that needs to be met for a user story to be considered as done. Okay, those are the two differences. Acceptance criteria is for user story. Definition of done is for the increment. When I say increment, I mean what the team is able to produce at the end of the sprint, the value that they're producing at the end of the sprint. Okay, so those are the two differences. And I see it seems Grace is going to send this to Jennifer. Go ahead, Lolo.
You just answered the question I had, acceptance criteria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ahmed.
Yes, I have a follow-up question. I'll be very glad for those people who doesn't really understand. I want us to dive down on these questions a little bit more further by liking the definition of done, ready, acceptance criteria, invest, Moscow, and all that, and how we could liken it to the concept of how we manage to how we manage the concept of risk in Agile. Thank you.
Ahmed, let's put that to the parking lot, because it seems this is us getting entirely from our main topic. So let's put that to the parking lot. Just put a note on that. And then when we are done, then we could address all those. How does that sound for you? Sounds good?
Oh, sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. Ask for help. Oh, I think you're even done. Awesome. So yeah, ask for help was the last one. Last one came twice. We already spoke about this. Okay. So these presentation, these are my references. I actually got all this information from scrumalliance.org. They issue CSM for everyone, and also from Clearly Agile. All right. So that will do it for my presentation.